The City Council meeting, would you please stand for our invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance?
Dear God, we thank you once again for the privilege of power and leadership. We know tonight that you will bless those who humbly ask for wisdom, guidance, and we ask for your peace tonight, not only on this gathering, but all around the world. May your peace become the norm. Give us wisdom beyond our own wisdom. Give us compassion as we talk about difficult issues beyond our own compassion. Amen.
And Tim, I apologize, I did not introduce you. That was Tim Allison, Chaplain and Bereavement Coordinator for the Visiting Nurses Association. So Tim, thank you for being here. Please follow me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, Madam City Clerk, please take the roll of City Council members in attendance.
Councilmember Spears.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Stewart. Steinmeier. Hobart.
Here.
Mayor Rowland.
Here. Thank you. That brings us to citizens' request. Oh. Okay. So we've got several who have signed up. We also need a motion. We've got one non-resident who would like to speak, and we have typically been very accommodating when those folks do that, so I could get a motion in a second to suspend the rules so we could allow them to speak.
I'll move that non-residents can speak.
Thank you. We've got a motion in a second. Madam City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Spears.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. Thank you. So that'll bring us to citizens' request to speak. Our first citizen who signed up this evening is Mr. Kenneth Love. Ken, where are you at? There you are. How are you, my friend? Good to see you.
Good evening, my friend. First off,
I ask one question.
yes, sir.
You're going to go extemporaneous, no notes?
I'm here as a resident that would like to speak upon what's going on within our city.
Sure. I apologize, I interrupted you. Please proceed.
That's okay, no, sir. And I will do it with respect. Good evening, council. Mayor Rowland. I meant to say we're.
No worries, my friend. We're good.
So much for respect, Ken.
City manager. Thank everybody for being here tonight, first of all. When we ran for a mayoral candidate, every candidate spoke highly in supporting the Independence Police Department. Every candidate stated we would attack crime. It seems like from the people I see here, it don't look good. And the reason I say it that way is due to the fact we are still having a serious problem hiring Independence police officers. We are down. Why are we down? Look around. Benefits, benefits, benefits. But lately, we've been under investigation. IPD has, and we're still waiting on answers of that investigation. What's taking so long? There's been no response. But the buck stops here. And we made promises to the residents of Independence for a vote. I stood behind my word, and I feel my friend stands behind his. The crime level in the city of Independence at the time of the mayor's election was approximately 48%. Today, we're almost at 71% crime rate. Those numbers have not dropped. They have started going up and up and up and up. This just happened to me. Not only to me, but to some other residents that live in the 3rd District. Backyard zonings. And what I mean by zonings is these little airplanes that fly around, dropping people's backyards, and people are snooping through whatever you want to call that machine.
A drone.
A drone. There you go. Thank you, sir. I know what I seen. I know what I heard. I know what I have on camera. I also know residents have been calling the non-emergency number for the City of Independence Police Department, reporting panhandlers. This is an ordinance that the council passed. This is an ordinance prior to you being elected that our council passed no without a permit. When you dial that number and you tell the police or the call taker, you have panhandling going on at 39th and Boulder, can you please have somebody come out? The answers that the residents are getting is, sorry, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. Well, if you don't have time for that, then what do you have time for? What's next?
And
We
you've got
need-
1 minute.
Yes, sir. We need more IPD officers hired, Mr. City Manager. Maybe the city manager should be looking at lowering his budget to help others out. And again, look at these retirees. You give new hiring officers what these people got, you're going to get them. You keep taking and taking and taking, what you're going to get is, when I walk away, is another empty stage. And that's where we're at right now, is an empty stage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. If I could, ladies and gentlemen, and there's a few more people who are going to speak, and the council members and I have talked about this, and we would like our policy to be forward, and I didn't want to interrupt you, Mr. Love, and gavel you at that point. But what we're asking people to do going forward is to restrain themselves in their comments from personalities or politics. We want to make sure that we talk about policy in this room. We are here to make the best decisions for the city. Is crime rates appropriate to discuss? Yes. Are campaign promises in and out of line? I think that's out of bounds. Calling someone out from that lectern and the dais personally on that, I don't think this is the place for that. This is a place for policy. If you want to call people out, that's what Facebook is for. That's what all these other tools are for. That's, out there in the street. Can you do that? Absolutely. But this right here, I believe, is for policy. Is the water system working? Is the sewer system working? Where are the problems at, and bring those to our attention. But it doesn't breed a positive city when we call people out. We can certainly have those conversations, and I will certainly listen to anyone who has a criticism of my performance as mayor. I'm happy to do that. But I think it's very, very important that the lectern be used for policies, not personalities, and not politics. So no offense to you, my friend, but I didn't give you that guidance earlier, and I'm happy to hear anybody's comments on that too. I'm happy to have that discussion and listen if I'm out of bounds in that regard, and if our council is out of bounds in setting those rules and those guidance. So anyway, with that being said, we have a non-resident. We've already waived the rules. Robert Sorensen, please proceed. Thank you, my friend. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council for allowing me to speak this evening. As you know, my name is Robert Sorensen. I am the president of the Independence Loggers Retiree Group. I'm here to speak about a resolution that was passed in June in regards to the Stay Well health insurance. I would like to take the opportunity to address resolution number 6816 that was passed at the June council meeting. I would like to express the view of my executive board membership in regards to any changes in the Stay Well health insurance. We had a meeting approximately a week ago, and we had standing room only at the FOP Lodge when we had this meeting to address what we had been told about changes that could occur. There are currently 276 pre-65 retirees enrolled in the Stay Well plan. Of those members, 270 are in the OAP1 plan in Stay Well, which comes out to be 98% of the retirees. With August 1st as a deadline for changes in the resolution, and with many scenarios being presented to the Stay Well committee, my executive board believed it was necessary to go on record with the mayor and the council that our group would oppose any recommendations or scenarios that could eliminate OAP1 as a health care option. To conclude, I'd like to say that our group has been working hard to put together a plan that both addresses the city's needs and requirements and also the needs of the employees and retirees in the Stay Well health insurance plan. We hope to have a chance to present this plan to somebody for consideration, as our group was able to accomplish working with the city in 2019 for a solution for the post-65 retirees. We were able to work with the city, came up with a very satisfactory outcome for both the city and the post-65 retirees. We believe we can accomplish the same thing for the pre-65 retirees. I hope that the council and the city staff will give us that opportunity to present what we think is a plan that will fix it and also address the needs of the city and the cost of the plan. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Also, I didn't give the rules. Please, no outbursts. I understand the enthusiasm for it. I was a city employee. I know many of you personally. But, you know, please, what we're trying to do here is to maintain decorum in this room, in this building. So, but I'm happy to have discussions about that too. And there were two people who signed up earlier, and I missed them. Lisa, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Is it Lisa Langdale? Is that right? Lisa Langdale? Is that correct? Lisa. She wanted to speak to the counselor's safety and IPD. Lisa. I'll keep you, if you come in, we'll keep you on there. Laura Dominic would like to speak to the council meeting regarding 22771. And Laura, I love the enthusiasm. You came up there hopping.
Well, I apologize for walking in front of the council and
No worries.
city manager's desk.
And can you get the microphone, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm always concerned about that when I'm watching, so I appreciate
you.
that. Laura Dominic, 3525 Blue Ridge Boulevard. Mayor and Councilman, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight on Bill number 22-771. This regards the personnel policies and procedures as they apply to the council. Unfortunately, the copy of the personnel policies and procedures that was attached to the agenda that you received is not the most up-to-date version. So the references in the resolution, are not correct. Because on June 21st, the council approved the following changes to the personnel policies and procedures. Article 2, which was formerly titled General Provisions, was changed to Article 1 with the new title of Workplace Policies. Therefore, the resolutions are not listed appropriately, entitled appropriately. Note that the city attorney decided, along with HR, that the definition section that was in Article 1 will be moved to the end of the policies and procedures, either as another article maybe or as an appendix. We're going to have a lot of changes coming to the policies and procedures, so the definitions are going to either change periodically, but won't come to you for approval until we have a list of all of these that we need to make. I also looked through the other policies and procedures, personnel policies and procedures, and one that's not listed is the article titled compensation and benefits, which for the most part doesn't apply to council members. Your compensation and that type of thing is set outside of personnel policies and procedures. But there are parts of that section, in particular section C, that refers to employee benefits that do apply to you. Therefore, that should be an article that would be listed in the policies and procedures you would acknowledge and agree to abide by. To avoid including too few of the policies and procedures that you will acknowledge and agree to abide by delineating them separately in the resolution, I would recommend not delineating them, because there is a section, Article 1, Section 3 of the Personnel Policies and Procedures, that states these policies and procedures will be applicable to all employees in the classified and unclassified services, which you are in unclassified, except as may be excluded herein. Maybe that wording could be changed to as appropriate. This would also eliminate the need for Section 4 of tonight's resolution regarding that if the personnel policies and procedures are changed, that then city manager has to look at those and see whether they apply to the council, and then the resolution has to be changed again to reference to those. So might simplify something just to say, we will abide by these personnel policies and procedures as they apply to us. And then Section 5 of the resolution states that the Personnel Board will be presented with a report of any alleged violations of the policies and procedures that would be available to us on the Personnel Board for review and recommended course of action. As the members of the Personnel Board are appointed by the council, as a member of the board, I don't completely understand the expectations required of us in that section, since you appoint us, and then the charter also states the mechanisms for a council member to be considered disqualified, or that type of thing. So there's some confusion there to me on what my role would be coming back to you. And I don't speak for all the members of the Personnel Board, obviously, myself. But I would appreciate an opportunity to discuss that at a Personnel Board meeting before you would move to approve this resolution, so we can kind of be clear on all those expectations. So thank you in advance. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. One more call for Lisa Langdale. Hello, Lisa. You must be present to win. Okay, very good. We'll move on then. April Lejeune is going to speak. And then just so folks are ready, we'll have Ed Reese, and then we'll have Cody Atkinson. So,
Hello.
Thank you, April.
Well, I think I need to explain the situation a little bit before I go into what I'm going to say.
Okay.
So what happened is a few weeks ago, I think maybe even last week, but I think it was a few weeks ago, some people came here and they were talking about the pride flag being flown on city property, and they were not happy about that. But as a result of that, I believe that you have received an email from Ms. Early addressing the flying of flags on the city property, because we wanted to look at the contract. And since that time, we have found out pretty much like 2 hours before this meeting started that the city and the association have not signed the contract, and it was due July 1st. Okay? Now, this particular contract here has some provisions in it that the questions are unanswered and open-ended. What's been going on in the arts district is shutting down of city streets where residents can't get to their homes and things because they were painting the various streets, and that kind of stuff is blocking the traffic. And there's also a mural there where a young girl has a very low-cut shirt. So this is the concern, that the pride flag itself, and now that what they're doing is they're painting these things on the streets and incorporating the pride flag into those things. And as far as I'm concerned and other people are concerned, this is about sexuality. It's not really about pride for the city. And that's the problem. We don't care what people's sexual orientation is or anything like that, but it seems like the art district itself has taken upon themselves to promote sexuality rather than art, and they're using art as a vehicle to do it. Like I say, it doesn't really matter, but in this contract that's not signed, the events that they had on June 17th through 19th was that community pride event. The objection is the way that it's promoted on city property. It's not the fact that somebody in their private business wants to do something, that's fine, it's their private business, but on city property, that's the problem. Also, if you look at this contract, which is not signed to this day, we found this out, it was due July 1st, and now the city is scrambling around to get the signatures on it. So in here, it says that if there's any damage caused by any of the events, that the association has to fix it. And what happened with those paintings is they used the wrong kind of paint, and when it rained, it washed all the things away. So now it's left, I don't know if you've seen it, but it looks faded and terrible, and it's not good. So in this contract here, it says they have to fix that at their expense. Now, from what I understand, they're fixing some of it, but not all of it. And as I say, they're incorporating this sexual statement within those paintings now that they're repainting. And so that's objectionable, since it is still a community area. The other thing is, in here, it says that the association and the occupants and users of the public areas shall be responsible for the ordinary and reasonable cost of installation of temporary service meters at an amount not to exceed $40 per temporary meter. The city shall be responsible for any amounts that exceed the sum. There's no cap on that. We don't even have any responsibility of what does that mean. I mean, what if it's 140? We want to know, where is the money going? Who's paying for it? What's the budget? I mean, there should be a cap here, because
have 1 minute.
I don't know if the cities if the people want to pay that.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, that's fine. So anyway, we want this contract to be looked over a little bit more, and it's already past due. So I don't know what the city wants to do about this particular contract, but I think it needs to be clarified quite a bit, so that the city and the association have an understanding what the city's responsibilities are and what the residents' responsibilities are. But like I say, incorporating something that is a sexual statement, I think, is pretty unacceptable.
Thank you very much. And I'll call for Lisa one last time. Okay. With that, Ed Reese. Come on up, Ed.
Hello, Council. I'm a city resident and property owner. I own the Susquehanna Shopping Center in East Independence. And I'm basically just here to address a little issue that some of the members know about, maybe not all the members, that happened over the weekend. And what happened is one of my tenants, which is Tavern 24, at 4 o'clock on a Saturday, the city came out and they shut it down. They shut it down because they said that his business license was expired. And what I find gravely wrong with that is you shut it down on a day when you can't take care of the problem. You know, if you came in during the week and said, listen, we're going to, for whatever reason, your license is expired. If you don't have it taken care of by the end of the day, we're going to shut you down. Nobody's special here. Then that could have happened. So what happened in the chain of events of this, and I want to thank, I'm not going to mention any names here, we're not getting political, but there's a number of members that I contacted and got a hold of, and the problem was reversed. They got a hold of the city manager, and we got it taken care of, and they were able to open back up at approximately about 8 o'clock that evening. But what the damage that was done from this was, there's a local band called the Trace, and that is a big venue. They were booked there. The band was called off. There was about 12 waitresses, and a lot of them are single moms and stuff that make good tips that night. They were told that they had to go home, and the bar owner indicated to me that he figures that he lost none less than $5,000. Okay, so all of this comes down to revenue for the city. As we know, the city needs every dollar they can get. And to make what matters worse, the officer also informed the tenant that he was number 20 that they shut down on a Saturday. So 20 businesses. And then what I've been told from today, my tenant came up to the city this morning, first thing, and he got his business license taken care of. Now, the information that the officer was given was that his license was over a year due. That was not the case. It was out by a couple of months. He says he never got the notice, and there was multiple other people up there that said they didn't get a notice. There was even a person up there that had a business that got shut down, and he had renewed his license and had the receipt for it, and the problem got rectified, but he still lost revenue this weekend. So I'm just addressing the council here and asking that we shouldn't, the city needs to be more pro-business, and if there's an issue on a business license, let's handle it during the week and not on a weekend, and give them an opportunity to take care of that instead of just coming in and closing them down. Because there was a loss of revenue and stuff there. And like I said, the problem, I appreciate the fact that the problem got taken care of, and they did get to open back up, because they would have been closed Sunday as well, and they would have lost those sales, but the problem did get rectified. But it was a number of bars and slash restaurants, and I think we got better resources than going around and closing businesses on a weekend. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. I appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here. Okay. And then next is Cody Atkinson. And you're here about the pit bull ban, if I'm hearing you correctly. And Cody, proceed when you're ready.
All right. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on the city's pit bull ban. So if you'll notice, I have my Humane Society shirt on. I am both the state director of the Humane Society in Missouri, as well as an Independence resident, so wearing both hats as I say this. Very sadly, about once a month since I've taken this job about a year ago, I get a call that I really hate to have to call back. That is when somebody's dog, their best friend, a member of their family, is removed from their home, removed from their possession, not due to the dog's aggression, but simply because of how it looks. And the stereotype that goes along with dogs that may or may not even be pit bulls. There's a lot of evidence out there that it's very hard to identify these dogs, and they are often misidentified. And I don't know how many more of these conversations I have left in me. They are incredibly painful to have. Mothers trying to explain to their children why their pet was taken away, that dog that greets their son or daughter when they come home from school and may go to bed with him at night. This city has a dangerous dog ordinance, a vicious dog ordinance on the books. It is superfluous and unnecessary to have this additional ordinance which bans the ownership of pit bulls and pit bull-like dogs. There are other avenues that we can, of course, go about the signature collection process, but of course that is incredibly expensive, time-consuming, and in a state like Missouri, frankly, I've got a lot of other animal welfare issues to attend to, and would love to see action by the City Council on this issue independent of a signature collection process. Mention has been made multiple times over this evening about budget shortfalls as well as resource shortfalls at IPD. I've spoken with a ton of police officers and sheriff's departments. I've yet to meet a single police officer, sheriff's deputy, or sheriff who wants to remove a well-behaved dog from somebody's home. They have plenty to deal with outside of that. In addition, the animal shelter cannot adopt out pit bulls within city limits. And I have called every shelter in the state recently on compassion fatigue training. Shelters are absolutely booked full. If you've been reading the KC Star lately, you've seen KC Pet Project, Wayside Waifs. They are over capacity. They're trying to give away dogs, which of course comes with its own set of problems. The shelter workers are exhausted, mentally, physically just worn out. So I'm asking, please, please, please take action independent of this. Save the citizens of Independence some time and resources, and move this issue off the table and go forward with the vicious dog ordinance. Get these dogs out of shelters into loving, caring, responsible homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cody. Okay, that brings us to Madam City Clerk, resolutions. And would you please read the first resolution for Betty Smook, who was selected as the Employee of the Month in June of '22. So,
Bill number 22-766, a resolution recognizing Betty Smock, Account Information Representative with the Water Department, as the Employee of the Month for June 2022. And whereas the City Employee Recognition Program recognizes outstanding performance by employees of the City of Independence, and whereas an employee committee selects the Employee of the Month for exhibiting the qualities and ideals that best represent public service. And whereas the Employee Recognition Committee has selected Betty Smock, Account Information Representative with the Water Department, as the Employee of the Month for June 2022.
and is Betty here? And do I have a motion and a second for that resolution?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. So Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spheres,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Councilmember Steinmeier, can you hear us? I know he was there. Yep.
Yes, sorry.
And Councilmember, can you go to video? I know, there we go. When we
Not
vote-
my best look, but yes.
Thank you, Councilmember, I appreciate it.
Councilmember Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Madam City Clerk, could you read 22767, please?
Bill number 22-767, a resolution recognizing Nathan Reisinger, System Administrator with the Technology Services Department, as the Employee of the Month for July 2022. Whereas the City Employee Recognition Program recognizes outstanding performance by employees of the City of Independence, and whereas an employee committee selects the Employee of the Month for exhibiting the qualities and ideals that best represent public service, and whereas the Employee Recognition Committee has selected Nathan Reisinger, System Administrator with the Technology Services Department, as the Employee of the Month for July 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 22-676. Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spheres,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes,
Thank you, Councilmember.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes.
Just to clarify, it's 767 instead of 676.
Oh,
Thanks.
yep, thank you very much. This brings us to the consent agenda.
Oh. I'm on it. Mr. Mayor, I'd move that we approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or any items want to be removed or pulled out by council members?
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
I'd like to pull number 7.
Okay. Councilmember Hobart has asked for number 7 to be pulled out, so very good. We'll discuss that separately. Any other items? Going once, going twice? Okay. With that being said, we'll approve the first ones, or just go to talk about number 7?
We'll approve the consent agenda minus item number 7.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda items minus item number 7?
We have that motion, we just need to vote on it.
Okay. Madam City Clerk? Thank you.
Councilmember Spheres,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. Thank you. Councilmember Hobart asked for item number 7 to be pulled out and discussed, so the floor is yours, Councilmember Hobart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask Mr. Walker just a couple questions.
Sure.
Mr. Walker, this item, I'm going to vote for it, but this item is for a new website and some CMS and some other services I see. I just thought it might be nice to explain what we're going to get for that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that, Councilmember Hobart and members of the council. This item is to upgrade the city website. That is really, in 2022, our main method of communication with not just our residents here, but our business community and those who live outside the city looking to get more information or figure out how to do business with the city. It's where vendors go to see opportunities to bid on city projects. It's where citizens go to often log requests for service or initiate access of their utility account. So there's a lot of different ways that the city website is utilized. As we have been over the last several years, we've been looking to upgrade a number of our dated systems and processes, and working our way through the list, the city website is the next one that we feel merits our attention. We've heard complaints over the years of links that are broken, information that might be outdated. The system that we have does not lend itself to an easy method of updating the city website on a routine, regular basis. So once this project is fully completed and implemented, we'll have a new look and feel to the city website, something that will be much more user-friendly, visually appealing, easier to interact and engage with, find information. I know one of the speakers tonight was speaking about being pro-business. That's one of hundreds of ways that will be able to improve what citizens are able to do on the website to find all that different kind of information and engage with the city. I'd like to point out that this project is being funded without any of our general fund revenues. The total is $277,450. Of that, $125,000 is coming from federal stimulus funds, the American Recovery Plan Act dollars that the city received and the council approved previously allocating funds for this project. $102,450 split among the 3 utilities, again because of the interface with utility billing and customer service there, and then $50,000 from the tourism fund because we will have a significant tourism presence there for people outside of the community who want to learn more about maybe planning a trip to Independence. So yet another item that will move our city forward and help make us more friendly to businesses, residents, and guests alike.
Appreciate that. If there's no other discussion.
Any other discussion? With no other discussion, Madam City Clerk, please take the roll.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second. Thanks.
Second.
Councilmember Spheres,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. And that brings us to resolutions. Very good. That brings us to the public hearing on the city charter. We have actually postponed this action to 6/21 from June 21st. A number of council members had asked us to have a public hearing, and to respect their wishes, we have done that. So we'll have a public hearing on the charter, and this will open it. Anyone here to talk about the city charter and the city charter commission? Ms. Dominic, come on up.
Laura Dominic, still at 3525 Blue Ridge Boulevard. I sent an email to the council members, and I do I just want to kind of read through this, and I appreciate the responses, and I know they were heard and listened to, and I don't necessarily have a definitive answer, but I just kind of wanted to bring up what I thought of.
Sure.
As I read through the agenda, I'm going to read this as I typed it, which is a week or more ago, so my apologies if the pronouns or the dates aren't correct. I read through the agenda for Tuesday night, and I have an observation on the latest suggested way of structuring the Charter Review Committee. If I understand correctly, which I think I do, but again, I'm always open to, no, you don't. Each district councilman presents 3 candidates that are ranked, and the top candidate is appointed to the committee. So that's 1 for each district. So 1, 2, 3, 4 have 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are not what's going to happen by any means. These are what could happen. So let's say the mayor appoints the chairperson, who could possibly be from, I'm using the 4th district as an example only. Okay, so you appoint someone from the 4th district. So now the 4th district has 2. Everybody else each other district has 1. Let's say then the at-large candidate presents 3 candidates ranked, and then the top candidate is picked. Let's say either he only chooses people from the 4th, or the person that is ranked first in that ranking is from the 4th district. So now you have 3 people from the 4th and 1, 2, 3 in the other districts. Then you go back to everyone who's left into the pool, right? And you rank those. There is a possibility, I don't know probability, but the possibility that maybe those other 2 people that either are Councilman Fears or Councilman Hobart's choices from District 4, in which case you could end up with 5 people from District 4. And now my counting's not going to be right because I've got 3, 2, and 1. I'm sorry, I'm afraid I've made a mistake in counting because I know we need 9 members. But let me just say that I'm concerned that it could get lopsided. And not to the 4th district, not to the 1st, not because anybody's doing anything, nefariously. That's just the way it could possibly happen. So I had a couple thoughts. I've thought about a lot of different ways to do it, and I don't know the best answer either. But maybe there's a phrase added that says, because we know one district is going to have 1 more. If you're going to get to 9, it's going to be 2, 2, 2, and 3. To say that no district will have more than 3 appointees to the committee, so that it can't get out of balance towards one district. Those are just my thoughts. And I would also say too that because we have an election coming up that we'll finish all up in November basically. We haven't reviewed the charter for I don't know how many years, 13, I think I've heard it thrown out, that maybe it would be appropriate to wait until we have that last council member, because as Councilman Fears would indicate, he would like to have a choice in this, and I think that probably that person would too, because they will be fulfilling 3 of a 4-year term, basically, so it would be we're not at the end of an appointment, we would be at the beginning of that new person's, at Karen DeLucy's filling her seat, so. Just my thoughts. I'm sorry, those not answers, just thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else to present in the public hearing for the charter review? Mr. Keys, Richard, please proceed.
My name is Richard McKee. I'm an Independence resident for 55 years, minus 13 years when I was in Kansas City. Why are we considering a new charter? Should we not have 7 council members before considering this? Some say we need a new charter because there is illegal stuff in it. Please name what those are. It appears the main reason to adopt a new charter is so they can sell Independence Power and Light. Will citizens enjoy lower rates if it is sold? Considerations in a sale of a public utility: debt, power contracts, labor agreements, and the sale price. Don't citizen and employees of IPL have more input about rates and governance when we own it? The 9th largest municipal utility in America is Jacksonville, Florida, and it considered selling to investor-owned company. The community and political opposition halted it. San Francisco is considering getting local ownership from Pacific Gas and Electric. A new charter commission is not needed. Lower rates and customer input is a reason not to sell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. Anyone else? And please state your name.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Carner.
Mayor. Henry Carner, 3731 South Milton Drive. I see in section 2 at the last sentence, because it is imperative that the commission is able to be detached, objective, and impartial, any former Independence mayor, city council member, or City of Independence employee shall be ineligible to serve on the commission. I'm lost at that disqualification for having served the public either as elected or as employed. I don't understand the concept detached. How does anybody in the City of Independence that pays property tax, sales tax, uses any of our services, drives on any of our roads, pays for any of our utilities, how can that be detached? And I noticed that all these people that are being disqualified, and I can't see there's a reference to being impartial and objective. Well, on the other hand, on the reverse, is this saying that those people cannot be
If you could
detached?
please make sure you speak into your microphone.
I'm sorry,
No
what
worries.
did you miss, Mayor? I'll repeat myself.
No, I was able to hear it, but I'm not sure if people who are listening online might not be able to hear it.
Thank you for your assistance. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay. That we're in reverse saying that these people somehow would not be impartial and somehow would not be objective. Yet I submit that all of these people have served under the city charter, have some knowledge of government, and do not deserve to be deemed unworthy of service on this commission. And we know that they serve on other commissions and boards. They have been elected to this council, and there might even be one former employee serving on the council. So I would ask that this shadow not be cast on that class of people, and that they are not deemed unfit and unworthy by state authority, and plead for no vote against that tonight.
Anyone else like to speak on behalf of the charter? Mr. Love, please proceed.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. I step up tonight to speak about the city charter. I've had the city charter against me on several different occasions in past elections. We always hear city charter, the charter this or the charter that, when it helps protect people on the dais or to my left. I really don't understand why we're looking to change the charter. How about enforcing the charter to begin with? I think I understand maybe some of the rules that might want to be changed around, but none of the rules have really been clarified. What I don't agree with is each councilman getting to choose 3 people. What happens? I'm in the 3rd district, it's my district. Me and Councilman Steinmeier don't get along. But Councilman Steinmeier presents 3 names, and I'm not one of those names.
Mr. Love, we could. Make sure you talk about the policy and not personalities.
I
please.
am speaking about the policy and things that could happen.
Right, but we could
Okay.
use, in relationship to a person's name, we could use a district.
Okay, District 3, I apologize.
No
So
worries.
I'm in District 3, and the District 3 councilman decides not to put my name on it because he don't like me, and he knows I don't like him. Why is that right for him to choose 3 people out of the thousands and thousands that live in the 3rd district? That city charter belongs to the residents of Independence. It does not belong to anybody that sits behind that dais. Yes, you live in the resident of Independence, so it belongs to you also. But it should not give a choice because you are the more powerful one. That is not fair to other residents. If you're really looking for a change, enforce the charter to start with. Once you enforce the charter, foot rules are there, and you're ready for the change, I'm sure it will pass with no problems. But as I see right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people up here. We're still missing one because there's an election, upcoming election. This charter shouldn't be even talked about being changed until there's another person up there filling that seat. Any person that lives in the city of Independence, I don't care if it's a present mayor, previous mayor, Eileen Weir, if she wants to be on that committee, she has the right. She's a resident of Independence. Any councilman that is no longer sitting up there has just as much right. Because I'm sure those 2 people right there, councilman and ex-mayor, sure have a lot of knowledge that could be presented to us, the people of Independence, the taxpayers, the people that stand up wanting to know what's this and what's that. There's no difference right now, me standing up trying to figure out in the city charter to protect Independence police officer retirees and city retirees. What the heck has happened to their retirement? Why is it gone to the pits the way it has? Is it y'all's responsibility to make sure the benefits are always there for these people?
Mr. Mayor, yes, if I may, I believe Mr. Love is kind of diverting from the topic at hand here.
Thank you.
Well,
you can stay on the charter, my friend.
And again, I don't know if there's a section in the charter that speaks about that. Is there, Mr. Perkins? You said that I was out of order, so I'm asking, is there an order in the charter that specifically covers the Independence?
Mr.
Well,
Mayor.
There's
yes.
not. The benefits aren't addressed in the charter.
Thank
no.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's the answer.
Right.
So
And
thank you. That was the
proceed.
question I asked, so
Please proceed.
thank you. Anyway, it really comes down to who councilman of the 4th district wants to pick, who councilman of the 1st district wants to pick. To me, it's like a puppet, and I'm not a puppet to be held by strings. This is about the residents of Independence, and that's exactly where that charter belongs. The residents of Independence. The residents of Independence has voted on that in the past. The residents of Independence approved of it in the past. And it is not right for the people that are sitting up on that dais to want to change without 100% acknowledgement from the city of Independence residents.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Anyone else like to proceed? Please proceed.
Mr. Mayor, just before the next speaker goes, as a point of clarification, the Charter Review Commission would just be reviewing the charter to put forward potential recommendations to the council, and then that would go from the council to the people to be voted on. So the charter itself cannot be changed without a vote of the people. I just want to make sure everyone understands that.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman, or excuse me, Mr. Cober. Please proceed, and please give your name and then please proceed.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, my name's Renee Palika-White, and I too would like to have a second look taken at the Section 2, where it says you cannot be a representative as a mayor, council member, city employee. Well, for obvious reasons, I don't like that. But furthermore, I would also like that to go further. I feel like if you're not going to allow city employees or past mayors and council members, what about vendors that have had contracts with the city, TIFs with the city, all of these sort of people? I don't think they should be allowed to be on the committee, along with their spouses possibly. So I just think if you're going to go at this level, you need to go the full level then to make sure that it's fair to everybody. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on behalf of the charter? Anyone else like to speak on behalf of the charter? Going once, going twice, going three times. Anyone else like to speak on behalf of the charter? With no one else coming forth to speak, we'll close the public hearing. So closed. And then any discussion from the members of the body, the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
after hearing some of these comments and discussions, I would maybe perhaps recommend that we postpone this for several weeks, and since we're kind of out of whack with our scheduling, to August 1st. That'd be our first council meeting. Give us several weeks to review and digest.
Second.
Any other discussion? Mr. City Manager, if I may, is there a study session in between there that we could talk about?
Yes, there would be a study session on, yes, there is. I don't have the date at the July 25th.
Because we had, if I remember correctly, we had a study session, we discussed this issue, and at that point, we discussed in great detail selecting the members of the body, or the members of the, how we would select members for the commission.
I believe that conversation was an hour and 4 minutes, if I recall correctly.
Okay, and if I remember correctly too, all the council members had an opportunity to share their opinions. We actually listened to and incorporated many of those ideas into this process. If I remember correctly.
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. There's a motion on the table with a second. No further discussion. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spheres,
This is the motion to continue it to August 1st.
No.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Rowland.
I will say yes, but I would want our council members to be ready to go on August 1st on an up or down vote on proceeding. I'm happy to have that discussion. I'm happy to have the delay on it and have more input, but And I'd like to have a study session so we actually discuss it in greater detail of these issues that have been brought up tonight. But I would like to proceed. You know, this has not been done for 20 years or so. The last time it was a full process was in 1985. It is due time that this city brings their charter up to date to get rid of the, to be honest with you, sexist language that's in there, and to bring it up to be more current with what this city needs. Will there be opportunities for city input from citizens? Absolutely, through the entire process. There'll be commission members that have the opportunity to work on that, and those meetings will also be public hearings and public meetings on that. And then, obviously, the last and final thing that citizens have the opportunity to do is actually vote on those and to say, yes, we agree with these changes, or no, we don't. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for citizens' input. But in my opinion, we need to go forward. When I walked door to door, I heard it often from people to say, we need to change the charter to make it more up to date, to deal with the issues with the lawsuits that were occurring on it, and to address those issues. And it was overwhelming from people at the doors in that regard. So with that being in mind, and with the input that I have, we'll go ahead and delay it to August 1st with one study session in between, and then be ready, council members, to go with an up or down vote on August 1st with that. With that being said, that'll take us to non-ordinance action items. And Madam City Clerk, could you please read 22770?
Bill number 22-770, a resolution creating a 7-member Mayor's Advisory Commission on Ethics Reform.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
I was reviewing today mainly the information from the models that were pulled for specific to the Charter Review Commission. And since that's seemingly some authoritative or authoritarian model that we're pulling from, I would encourage my colleagues to take a look at the 9th edition and look through the model for the charter changes that is being suggested, because there are some important, I think, some important ethical points that are made that I do agree with in that model. And I don't know if anybody else has looked at it, I would encourage you to look at it. I don't know that, again, my big concern in this is the residency requirements. I think all of our commissions should have full independent residents. Independent residents need to bring voice and need to bring guidelines for their city, for us. And so I'm not sure that I can support the language of this reform, only because of the residency issues that I have. But again, I would ask my colleagues to take a look at those, at the 9th edition of the National Civic League, and read some of the issues that we have talked about and discussed that were important to you, Mr. Mayor, and to some of us as well, and get that opinion. So at this point, I would like to see the language changed to be all independent residents. Thank you.
Thank you, City Council Member. Anybody else have the further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
just to be clear on this specific item, this was the item that would be an advisory committee
Right.
to you that proposed having by title 2 former council members, a member of the Ministerial Alliance, a few other positions as well. I believe, Councilmember Steinmeier, the item that you may have been referring to, if I'm understanding you correctly, with the National Civic League and their 9th edition of the Model City Charter, a committee I had the pleasure of serving on, that was related to the city charter and not this ethics item.
I indicated that, Mr. Walker. I said while I was reviewing the city charter information and the model that is listed, there's actually 2. One is the 9th edition, one's the 2nd edition. I reviewed the 9th edition, and looking through it, as I stated, I found some interesting points that I think we have discussed as a group, and one, like the term limits concern, and Mr. Stewart was here tonight, he would probably share, since he made reference to it, some of the same concerns. So I was just making a statement that as I was reviewing it, I came across some of the things that I
Councilmember, you froze a little bit, so if you could restate your thought, because you froze a little bit and we didn't get all of your statement.
Well, okay, so I'm not sure where I left off. I just wanted to be clear. I came across some of these issues that we discussed about the ethics reform, one of them being term limits, and I saw an interesting point in that 9th edition as I was doing some of the background for the charter review. So that's all. I struggle with the language, and I still am not sold on the residency issues that we're considering here.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Are you ready? If I may, this is just an advisory commission on ethics reform. We've had a lot of citizens that have brought attention to us with regards to ethics reform for our city. And I wanted to get some of the best practices from around the country. So this commission will simply make recommendations to the city council on what to consider. Some of those may in fact go into the charter. Some of those may in fact be put into ordinance. But it was a very, very high priority when I listened to voters in the last process. And I wanted to be respectful of that. And so this is just a group of citizens to give us ideas. I had a discussion earlier today with a council member, and he said, "Why did you do it this way?" And I said very simply, to add more transparency to the process. I could have just asked a few of my friends to meet me at Panera on a Saturday morning and said, "What ideas do you have with regards to ethics reform?" I chose not to do that. And the reason I chose not to do that is I think you should hear and know who we are hearing ideas from and who is being involved with the process. And that's why I wanted to make the process more transparent and more clear so that lots of people could have input into it, as well as giving us more time to discuss what do we need to do. I heard from voters over and over again, $1,000 contribution limits. Their concern about too much money in politics is a major concern. I also heard from people that they do in fact like term limits. The proposals I've made would actually only address the mayor and not the city council. For very obvious reasons. Do you want to go down that path of politics and having people on the body do that? So I didn't bring that up. I just said for the mayor. The other thing is the code of ethics. I think that's incredibly important for this city to do that, is to have a code of ethics that our elected officials are held to, and that we have opportunities to remove elected officials who take advantage of their power and their position. And that's why we did this. And I'll be happy to discuss for as long as you like anyone after this meeting in the lobby or in the parking lot. But I mean that in the kindest and gentlest way, and have that discussion. So with that being said, any other discussion from any other members? Because this is just for the advisory commission. Hearing no further discussion, could I have a motion, please?
We don't need a motion.
You don't need a motion? Okay.
Mayor?
Yep. Up or down vote?
Oh.
Yep. I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Councilmember?
Yes, just to be clear, while it's the mayor's commission on ethics, it would have applicability to the council members as well, correct? That's the way I read it anyway.
But this is the 7-member advisory commission. Is that what you're saying?
Right, and I'm just saying that they aren't limited to making recommendations just for the mayor. But some of your comments earlier made it sound like they were limited to making recommendations just for the mayor. This would be for the mayor and council.
Yeah, and it would be ethics reform for the entire city. So it's a much broader perspective. One of the things I think is very important is the Ethics Commission that we have right now needs to have teeth put into it. So they actually have some investigative authority and then actually investigate things that are done in elections and things like that so that we have fair and honest elections. And I think that's a very, very important key. So thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. No, great point. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Mayor.
Please proceed.
I want to be clear. It's not that I'm opposed to ethics reform. And you and I have had plenty of discussions on what we agree with and don't agree with. My concern, and I just want to make sure this is clear, is the language that talks about members of the commission shall be residents of or have their principal place of business in the city of Independence. And I prefer that they just be residents of Independence. That I think their vested interest in our ethics reform is important, and that's where I struggle with this is just that specific language of having their principal place of business in Independence, that those people can be considered for that position as well. So I just want to be clear.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? Please, Madam City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Spheres,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. Thank you. The next item, please read 22771.
Bill number 22-771, a resolution affirming the City Council's adherence to certain provisions of the city's personnel policies and procedures, as well as certain administrative policies of the City of Independence.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Proceed.
I'm going to ask that we move this to our next council meeting. And I know that this is an important issue with Councilman Stewart, and I would like to have his input with of course, our colleague approval. So
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Councilmember, would you like to have any more debate, or would you be willing to have an up-down vote on moving it to the next council meeting? Councilmember Steinmeier.
I'm sorry, say that again, Mayor.
I'm just asking, you had a motion and a second. Councilmember Hobart seconded your motion to postpone it for a week, and would you be willing, rather than having debate on it right now, since we're postponing it, just go ahead and take the up and down vote to put it on the next agenda item, for the next agenda?
I think that'd be appropriate. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to clarify that. Thank you. With that being said, Madam City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Spheres,
Yes.
Perkins, Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. Okay. This brings us to ordinances for second reading. And if I may, Mayor Pro Tem, would you be willing to take the dais just for a moment or two? Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I lost my thing. Madam City Clerk, would you please, where are we at? I left my paper. Would you please start with the ordinances, please?
Mm-hmm. Bill number 22-050, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of the 2022 Midwest High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area HIDTA Memorandum of Understanding MOU for the Kansas City Overland Park DEA Task Force Initiative and related documents with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation for a grant award in the amount of $153,166, making the necessary appropriations, authorizing future change orders for additional funding and/or time extensions, and authorizing certain future appropriations. Second and final reading.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Spheres,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes. Item passes. Madam City Clerk?
Bill number 22-051, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of the 2022 Midwest High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, HIDTA, Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, for the Investigative Support Center Initiative and related documents with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation for a grant award in the amount of $147,935, making the necessary appropriations, authorizing future change orders for additional funding and/or time extensions, and authorizing certain future appropriations. Second and final reading.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spears?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes. Item passes. Next item.
Bill number 22-052, an ordinance authorizing the removal and destruction of municipal court records that have met all requirements to be eligible for such destruction and are the subject of Circuit Court Administrative Order number 2022-216. Second and final reading.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spears?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes. Item passes. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 22-053, an ordinance approving the cooperative agreement among the City of Independence, Missouri, the Independence Square Community Improvement District, and the Independence Square Main Street Corporation. Second and final reading.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Spears?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. Councilmember Steinmeier?
I'm still here. Yes.
Thank you. And Councilmember Hobart.
Yes. Item passes. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 22-054, an ordinance partially vacating a platted 7.5-foot utility easement of all that part of Lot 8, Sterling Village Second Plat, PUD, a subdivision in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spears?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes. Item passes. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 22-055, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute a municipal agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the US 24 Highway Phase 1 project from Mode 291 Highway to River Boulevard as part of the US 24 Highway Phase 1 project, project number 111801, federal project number J4S3405B. Second and final reading.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make comment on this as well as the next item that's coming up. This is about the 24 Highways Complete Street Program. That is one of probably the largest projects that we are doing infrastructure-wise, and we're taking another big step in that. So the complete construction project will be from 291 to Wilson Road over several years, and this is just one more step in the process. So I encourage my colleagues to move forward with this and approve this. And to the public who's asked me, when is this going to be built and what's going on? This is paperwork, and we're getting the I's dotted and the T's crossed, so we're moving forward.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spears?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
Bill number 22-056, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute a municipal agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the US 24 Highway Phase 2 project from River Boulevard to Sterling Avenue as part of the US 24 Highway Phase 2 project, project number 112011, federal project number J4S3405. Second and final reading.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spears?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And that brings us to first readings, so Madam City Clerk, you may proceed.
Bill number 22-057, an ordinance terminating the tax increment financing within redevelopment project number 1 of the Nolan Road and 23rd Street redevelopment area, dissolving the special allocation fund account related thereto, and authorizing certain actions relating thereto. Bill number 22-058, an ordinance finding, determining, and declaring the necessity of acquiring temporary construction and grading easements for the 34th Terrace Bank Stabilization Project, project number 131802, authorizing the negotiation and eminent domain proceedings if necessary, approving the plans and specifications for the project, authorizing the use of experts as needed, authorizing and directing the execution of documents and the payment of funds to property owners holding property rights in conjunction with the project. Bill number 22-060, an ordinance approving a special use permit to operate a body art services business at 13700 East US 40 Highway, Suite F in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 22-061, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C2, General Commercial to District R6, Single Family Residential for the property at 1131 South Glenwood Avenue in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 22-062, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C2, General Commercial to District R6, Single Family Residential for the property at 1126 South Cottage Avenue in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 22-063, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District I-1 Industrial to District R6, Single Family Residential for 1314 West South Avenue in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 22-064, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C1 Neighborhood Commercial to District R12 Two-Family Residential for 8905, 8907, and 8909 East Lexington Avenue in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 22-065, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C2 General Commercial to District C3 Service Commercial for the property at 10725 East Truman Road in Independence, Missouri.
Thank you. And then we have items there from information only. That brings us to council member comments. And I'm going to start with Councilmember Steinmeier, because I'm just going to follow it to the process I can see. So Councilmember Steinmeier, do you have any comments you would like to make?
Just want to just say that we continue. I continue to get emails regarding just the condition of our city, and I just want to say I do appreciate our city staff and the efforts that they make, but to do what we need to do to keep it cleaned up, the environmental damage that we're seeing from the expanse of the homeless, it's expensive, and if we don't stay on top of this, we're going to have that moment of embarrassment, because we're just a few months away from another NFL draft. And I know you think, well, the NFL hasn't even started yet, but the fact is it'll be here before we know it. And I want to make sure that we're all committed to the process of getting our city cleaned up, getting the shine back on it, addressing the issues of the environment, the issues of our crime and some of the things associated with the homeless situation that we have in our city. I had a lady who is one of my constituents who said if we can't get this cleaned up, she's seriously discussing with her family about putting their house up for sale and moving. Sad to say, sad to hear it, but that's a concern. I don't want anybody to have to leave their home because they don't see the efforts of the city making this happen. And it's not an IPD problem. It's all of our problem. We've got to come together. We've got to discuss it, and I'm waiting for that opportunity to do so. And I know we will have that discussion. I just hope we don't wait too long in the process and get too far behind, because it's going to take a lot of effort, and it's going to be expensive if we don't stay on top of it. That's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Fears, proceed.
Okay, thank you. Well, greetings to everyone from Scout Camp, about 2 hours south of you and 10 degrees hotter, at least according to my phone. And I just want to say thanks to those who helped make it possible for me to join via Zoom. Or via the internet. That's very helpful. Just want to tell you all that there are a number of Scout troops here from Independence, and they are well representing our community, and you would be proud of them in what you would see here if you were here at Scout Camp. I do want to also say thank you to a couple of police officers. A couple of weeks ago I rode a shift, or part of a shift, with a couple of police officers, Officer Stewart and Officer Conley. Really appreciated that opportunity. It was very enlightening experience, and I was very impressed with the equipment that they have, and they were very complimentary of the citizens of Independence as to the support that they received from the citizens, and I believe they are well equipped. We talked and there were comments earlier in the meeting about the need for more officers. I know we're down about 38 officers right at the moment. Certainly, we are, as a council, I know we're supportive of closing that gap, and would certainly like to see that continue to be worked on, and I know it is being worked on. With that, that's about all I have at this point, and I will yield the floor back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hobart.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions I wanted to address to the city manager tonight. And it's items on top of mind for a lot of us. First of all, we'll start with maybe a happy one. How's the police chief search going?
Very well. Got a great journalist down there, Mike Janae, Independence Examiner. Encourage you all to subscribe. Hey, Mike. He's written some good articles on it, but just as an update for all of you, we got a very strong response to our recruitment. Well over 20 chiefs from across the country expressed interest in this position. The team that we've been working with has went through an extensive grinding process, vetting these candidates from all different angles that we would need a police chief to be able to thrive and succeed here in our community. We have narrowed that list down to the final 4. I'm not able to announce all of those yet because some of those individuals are still in the process of notifying their current employer of where they're at in this process. But sometime this week, I anticipate being able to do that, to announce those finalists. Because we've gone through a lot of the technical stuff now I'm really interested in looking at the soft skills, how these individuals will embed themselves in the community, how they will get along with our citizens, with the men and women of the police department, et cetera. So this will become a rather public process, including a community night where there will be an open house for the residents of the city to come and meet the 4 finalists, hear from them, and then we're going to ask for feedback from people who are there that night about their impressions, their thoughts, and that will be a part of our scoring system of the final candidates. So anticipate by the end of the month, if not the early part of August, being able to announce who that next person is. I do have great confidence that any of these 4 could walk in today and do an exemplary job of leading our department. So I think we're going to have very healthy competition and end up with a very outstanding product.
I appreciate that. Did you mean the early part of August or end part of August?
I anticipate, once we get to this point, it would be my preference, once we've completed our interviews and such, to identify that finalist, get an offer made, hope that that individual is able to accept, and then get that person onboarded as soon as possible. So we're looking to move, without making any mistakes, looking to move very fast at this point.
I just want to make sure that folks have a chance. You're talking about a meet and greet or an open house, or I really want to make sure that people have enough warning that they can come out to that if they want to.
Yeah, this week we'll be able to make the announcement as to who those 4 finalists are, as well as the date and time for the community open house, which evening that will be, day of the week, time, location, all of that.
I would ask, it's not my purview, but I would ask that you consider having them film a short introduction or something, or statement, so that folks can, as names get announced and they start doing internet searches, and that they can sort of put a name and a voice with those folks.
Okay.
I don't know if that's possible, but If it is, I'd like to see that.
It's a great suggestion. Let me take a look at that with the staff tomorrow and see what we can do. Yep, I appreciate the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Okay, next question. The not fun topic, the IPD overtime investigation. And the council was told we were very close, and then we weren't, but we're still very close. Can we get an update on timeline?
Yeah, this has been a very extensive review by the third-party special investigator that was hired by the city. I wish I was able to tell you more about it, but I've been removed from that process to make sure it has complete autonomy and independence to be able to review all aspects and all that. So at this point, I know about as much about that final report as you do. But I do know that the investigator has been extremely thorough. He did think he was near completion. They got some additional information that he wanted to make sure didn't materially change the outcome of that report. Was granted that extra time to be able to make sure the report was not only accurate but thorough. And I believe we are very close to being able to all receive and digest that report and understand what transpired, and more importantly, how we move forward from this.
I want to ask you a pretty pointed question. Have you or your office influenced the writing of that report or the contents?
No, and I don't want this to sound in any way defensive in nature, but typically with a matter of personnel, that would be the purview of the department director, the supervisor, and ultimately the city manager. Because of the nature of this issue, we have been completely removed from that. I have met the special investigator twice, and those were the only two conversations I had with that person when they came on board to make clear what their expectations were. And then when I was interviewed, along with members of my staff, by the investigator. Those are the only conversations that have taken place, except the deputy city manager, who was appointed as the point of contact for this, has had conversations when requests for information needed to be fulfilled. So when records needed to be secured or contact information needed to be exchanged. But that is the extent, and I don't believe any of that would influence the outcome of that report.
And one more thing, do we know a date that we're going to see it, somebody's going to see it, it'll be revealed in some way?
Let me confer with my staff real quick. We think that's next week, but in the end, of course, that's assuming there's no additional requests for time from the special investigator.
I hate to speak on behalf of my colleagues or just the citizenry at whole, but if there's any way to give us as much as he's got sooner than later, that would probably serve the citizens pretty well. Just, I understand nobody here is in charge of it, but if we can get all of it or really close to all of it, that'd be probably pretty nice by next week. Okay, one further thing. Okay, police building.
Yes, sir.
There's been some talk about it, and we now have, thanks to our vote last fall, we now have amongst the highest paid patrolmen in the area.
Correct.
So we have attractive salaries for new police officers. Do we need to do something about the facility? Because the AC broke last week, on top of all the repairs that have kind of been band-aided. And I guess on top of that, there's sewage and plumbing and lights and rust and general degradation.
Yeah, I can't recommend that strongly enough. And the city in 2018 had a report commissioned and received expert analysis about the current state of affairs within the existing police headquarters. As you mentioned, there is issues of water infiltration, There have been very nice things, very nice responses from the community to try to address some of these things. So I know a few years ago, our local hockey team, the Mavericks, donated some new lockers for the locker room because the water dripping in there had rusted out the lockers. But these are all just Band-Aid solutions to an overall issue. As you mentioned, we are in the throes of a Missouri July right now, and we had issues with air conditioning last week, which was leading to conversations about if we can't get this fixed soon, where are we going to transport detainees? Where are we going to send our staff? We can't have them working in a building if the heat's, climbing to an unreasonable amount. We've had water dripping, we've had sewage dripping on people's desks, on records, et cetera. Not evidence, let me be clear for all the attorneys out there. But we found in that report that the cost of updating that building and taking care of all those issues exceeds the cost of building a new building. So this is not an issue of we would like a new shiny thing or something lavish. This is, to use Councilmember Steinmeier's terms, the men and women who guard this city and protect it, where we provide them a place to come to work, to change their uniform, to fill out their reports, et cetera. And right now, we're losing on that. If you were to go to Blue Springs with a new Justice Center, Lee Summit with a new Justice Center, Kansas City with all of their regional patrols, all new, you're right. I'm very proud of what we've been able to do through the amendment to Prop P to move ourselves to at or near the top of the list in this metropolitan region. The 119 cities and 9 counties, we rank right up there at the top of where we pay. But our facilities are woefully behind, and not just in it'd be nice to have in a health and safety standard for the men and women that work over there. Every day that there's not an issue in that jail with the blind corners and some of the outdated design issues, I feel very fortunate. So I can't recommend strongly enough that we take that issue back up sooner rather than later, particularly now that we've prioritized and addressed the wage and compensation issue and look into the facilities issue.
Could you please, and thank you for that update, can you please get us that report, that 2018 report?
I will get that distributed to the full council.
And Mr. Mayor, at some point sooner than later, maybe we can add this on as a study session. I'm guessing, Mr. Walker, your office has looked at just rough outlines of if we actually did this and we're actually thinking about it, where it would go, what that would look like. I understand we don't have, maybe we do have bids from that report or estimated costs, I don't know, but if it suits the mayor or the rest of the council, I think we should have a study session on that sooner than later.
We'd be happy to do that. That report did take a look. One of the challenges with the existing site is we're landlocked. We've got 2 roads that abut the 2 corners and then the church down at the other end. So it makes it difficult to expand and add on. I didn't mention this among the health and safety issues. I suppose this sounds more like a nice to have, but in reality, that parking lot, as we've added more officers, that parking lot is congested and many of our officers have to find somewhere else to park and then walk over to the headquarters to report for duty. So that site is challenged for a lot of reasons. The report goes into more detail than you probably want to hear tonight, but I think it would be appropriate to have that study session and revisit some of that and then have that conversation about where the council and the community wants to go from here.
Mr. Walker, that's all I have for you tonight. Mr. Mayor, thank you for humoring us and allowing Mr. Walker to give those updates.
Thank you. Councilmember?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Continuing the theme of our police, tonight under citizen comments, we were talking about the possibility of being understaffed, and to a large degree, I do believe we are, but I was at a swearing-in ceremony that we had maybe a month ago, which I believe brought us up to our patrol level, up to a adequate staffing level. I see our acting chief is here, and with the mayor and city manager's permission, if Acting Chief Dustman wouldn't mind coming up and speaking to that, unless I was just not hearing right at the swearing in, which was actually excellent to see more of our young officers getting sworn in, and also some of our civilian employees getting sworn in.
Well, thank you, council member, mayor, members of the council, and I appreciate the opportunity. Adam Dustman, interim chief of police. That is correct. Currently, we are down 38 officers, as Councilmember Fears pointed out. Happy to hear from the H. Robartle Scout Reservation that maybe you have some prospective applicants coming our way, although I don't see many more coveted coups that will fit on your claws, sir. So if you could prime that well, that would be great. We are currently staffed, full staff, at patrol for the first time in many, many years. So that is 20 on each night shift and 18 on each day shift. We do have, that 38 has now shifted. So where we were deficient in patrol and had vacancies, we now have absorbed those into specialized units, which is causing strain, as we see from staffing levels in other functions of the department. However, I could not be more proud of our men and women that go out and continue to wear hat after hat after hat to make sure that the services are provided to these wonderful citizens that we have a pleasure to serve. One of the other things that they mentioned, council member, with your indulgence, was on crime, and I would like to point out that our current, I'm not sure the speaker's reference to the 70 or 40%, where that was drawn from, but I do have the latest 2021 annual report that we put out that shows that we were a decrease, with the caveat that this is compared COVID 2020 to and 2021 now to where we are in 2022, but we have a substantial decrease between 20 and 30% in almost every Part 1 and Part 2 crime that we have, with the exception of drug and narcotic violations, which I'm sure you've probably seen. Some evidence of that, and we've talked about that, which was a 4.42% increase 2020 compared to 2021, and then motor vehicle theft went up 1.74% 2020 to 2021. Additionally referenced was the panhandling. And I'm proud to say we are addressing the issues of homelessness. We are working with municipal services and parks, both from the city, to work on that initiative. You probably noticed last week we started that initiative, and we're able to clean up 3 encampments around the Chrysler Stadium complex, as well as on Friday, substantial cleanup efforts went out for Roberts Park, right there at 40 in the cutoff. And so we will continue those efforts. It is no exaggeration that we were told that back beyond the wood line, there's probably no less than 100 dump truck loads of refuse that is back there. So we will continue those efforts in moving forward. Specifically reference panhandling, I would like to reference, just to clear up, the 2015 U.S. Supreme Court ruling in Reed versus Town of Gilbert, which actually provided some of the misconception as to panhandling being protected speech. The caveat in that case, and again with Mr. Covers, feel free to correct me, however, is that you cannot target a unwanted, desirable population, thus homeless individuals that are panhandling. However, you can, for when the ordinance that was referenced earlier, when this previous council enacted that, you can deem it as a traffic safety hazard. So this council went back and said that any intersecting roadway of 35 miles an hour or greater is deemed as a traffic safety hazard, and thus there is no soliciting of any kind. That means that, churches, scout groups, car washes, if you would do that in the middle of an intersection, none of that is deemed safe from a traffic safety perspective, thus no solicitation whatsoever. As long as it is equally and uniformly applied, that is permissible and constitutional according to the updated guidance from the Supreme Court. So we will continue to work towards those efforts. I am proud of the men and women of the police department. Just since I have the time, not to keep everybody longer, however, if it is no secret, if you've turned on a TV in the last couple of years, why we are struggling to recruit for this profession. But as I stand here today, I can tell you that there is no more noble profession that you could ever have, no more worthwhile or impressive and impactful career choice that you can have than to be an Independence, Missouri police officer. You every day have the ability and the opportunity to have a life-changing impact on the residents that we serve, the visitors that come to this great city, and it is very, very worthwhile and fulfilling. So we do have 38 positions. We have more on the civilian side, 59 total within the department. However, if you are listening to this, if you are out there, and I know you are, if you are someone who values integrity and character and nobility and has a servant's heart, please come apply, and I promise you, you will not regret that career choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. I'll allow that one. With that being said,
Thank you, Chief, for that clarification and update, and I'll echo my comments with Councilman Hobart. We much need a better police station for our men and women.
and after following all of those folks, I'm going to give you the Gettysburg Address version of my speech, so it'll be short. One is we're starting the process of the charter, and we plan to continue that. We will get input from folks, but it is incredibly imperative that gets done. It hasn't been reviewed and brought forward for years. We're also getting the process started for ethics reform. I heard many people talking about that. Campaign financing, those kinds of things need to be done. We also had a great labor agreement that was actually passed tonight. With regards to the overtime issues that we've had, this is the first labor agreement, if I'm correct, Mr. City Manager, that actually follows the new and recommended overtime rules that got us away from the issue that we had just recently. So I think that's very important. And I'll just finish with one line that I've forgotten to say a number of times, and I do need to say that, but I think it's very, very important for us if we're going to operate a city of character, a city of ethical, north-pointing star process, is we cannot manage a secret. And with that, I call this meeting adjourned.